It is with immense pleasure that I, Pulkit, the Joint Secretary at the BSc Program Society, St. Stephen College, welcome Mr. Archie Jackson. He is a visionary senior technology professional with 20 plus years of experience at IT infrastructure design, implementation, and operation. He is currently Senior Director, Head of IT and Security at Incedo Incorporation. He has also been Assistant Vice President of Technology and InfoSec at Genpact. He is an esteemed alumnus of St. Stephen College, IIM Bangalore, Rochester Institute of Technology, Harvard, and Waseda University. We are very proud to host him today to shed light on the topic of cybersecurity. We invite our respected principal, Dr. John Verghese, and our staff advisor, Mrs. Sunita Parashar, to this session. Thank you for giving this opportunity. This event wouldn't have been possible without the support from our media partners. I would like to give due respect to them, which are DU Refresh News, DU Bulletin, Delhi University Official, DU Media, DU Express, DU News, DU Club, and DU Unified. Thank you for all giving us a much needed support as a media partner. A very warm welcome to all of you to this event. Let's have a great time together as we explore the world of cybersecurity. Also, we would love to have each one of you back for our future events. So let's start this event. And before starting the event, there are some general instructions which all participants should listen. Please maintain decorum muted unless you are speaking or you want to ask a question. Kindly take a note not to interrupt the guest. Any concern can be shared with us, the organizing committee, via the chat box facility on the Zoom or on the WhatsApp group. Thank you. Now I ask our respected speaker, Mr. Archie Jackson, to take forward the mic.
Let me just check if, just give me a thumbs up.
Yes, sir.
Can someone confirm if I'm audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Thank you. Thank you. So really delighted to be part of Stephen's session today because I remember probably last year or a year before last, I did conduct one session and that was in-person session. So definitely this is a bit different because this is completely virtual. So really appreciate the all of us to spare time today. We have 144 people joining us today, probably more as we progress. So yes, so I'll quickly jump to the topic because it's already 2:07. So I have a presentation. I have few stuff to walk you through as well, give you some demonstrations, and the only to start with a few pointers for all of us. Let's I mean, in case if there are any questions, we'll take up questions at the end. And if there are any questions, just put them on the chat and we'll go through, we'll review. And the team, the panel that is with us, they'll make some points, some notes of the key questions which we can address. I believe we are from different background, different streams. It's not necessary for us to be from science or any specific stream to be part of this session. Cybersecurity is actually, if you understand, so when you're pursuing your career, let's say if you are pursuing your career in humanities, or if you're pursuing your career in hospitality or economics, or even in science, all of this at some point in time you'll engage either as entrepreneurs or you'll be engaging as into some services. In all these areas, the platform, the core, the foundation is highly important, and that's why we are here talking on this particular session, where I'll try to share as much awareness around cybersecurity. And since we are from different streams, I'll try to make it as simple as possible so that we can understand. There may be few of us who already are aware of such concepts, but for the benefit of everyone, we'll talk through bottom to top and gradually progress and expand. I'm happy to conduct future sessions as well with more deep dive specific to any areas. Um, there may be dark web, there may be other areas as well, which we can deep dive and have some further workshops. So, first, let's say we may be from different streams, different years of our courses. Eventually, when we get into our services, or let's say into we start up our own startup or any business, this foundation, just now I was going through Haldiram, that's the food chain. It has nothing to do with technology. It's a food chain restaurant across multiple cities. It has been affected by ransomware, and I mean, the attackers have asked a good ransom from Haldiram. So the point here is, irrespective if it is Haldiram and their business is food, the people, the technology, the security, all of that is highly important for people who are managing the business. So tomorrow, eventually, when you are managing any business, that concept, that understanding around security is very important, because at the end, all the businesses are on the foundation of security and technology nowadays. Earlier, technology was an enabler for any business to function, like there may be some assets, laptop, connectivity, and all of that. However, now technology, as you can see, we are transforming digitally. And let's say any business to function, you need Paytm. That's again technology. We need remote currency. The digital currency is being used. So that's technology again. And when technology comes into play, you have the perimeter around security is very important, because as the best example right now with the pandemic, um, the security perimeter is the understanding concepts, how, I mean, the very basics to look at technology and security is ask why this is happening. Let's let's ask all of us. I mean, you can either answer onto chat or think and answer to yourself. um, let me ask, why do we yawn? So that's a very simple question. Why do we yawn? And just think about it, why somebody yawn. And we have been told over the years that we yawn when we are not interested, or we even get we used to get scolded when we used to yawn in school or while we are attending the class. So the perception is that when we are yawning, that means we are not being attentive, right? However, the concept around yawning is, we yawn. I mean, we don't yawn while jogging. We may not be interested in jogging. We may not be interested while running, but we do not yawn. Actually, yawning is something completely different. The concept, the reason why do we yawn is completely different. And there is a very important reason why I'm talking about it. So while we are sitting, let's say I'm sitting idle, I'm working on some stuff, and eventually I take a huge gulp of air, and that's yawning. That's because my brain is processing at the same speed. It's trying to process all that information, and the electricity, or let's say the fuel to processing, is air, the oxygen, right? And when oxygen within our blood, it gets subsided, but the voltage or the volts that are required in our neural network, it's still a particular limit. So we take a huge gulp to fill that particular void, that deficit of oxygen. We take a huge gulp and feed to our brains, and eventually that fuel helps us in processing the information. So at the end, the point, the crux why I'm talking about it is, we yawn because we are actually giving a lot of effort to process the information, but the input, the fuel, is not sufficient. Now, going back to what we already know, that's, we yawn because we are not attentive, we are not interested. So what we already know, we should question. So the concept, the point that I wanted to emphasize here is, one, we learn. Next is we unlearn, and then we relearn. So this cycle continues. So learning, unlearning, and relearning. So that's very important, and that's why we are a continual learner in whatever phase we are. Now, coming very spot on to our agenda, I'll quickly share my screen. I'll share my slide here. Okay. Okay. Is this screen visible? Just give me a thumbs up. Sure. Thank you. Okay. First, uh, first and foremost, yeah, nice. This is known as DDoS, what somebody did on the screen. So, yeah, we can try that. It's this is known. This is the annotation feature of Zoom. So the point here I wanted to emphasize is, as a career as well, irrespective whatever career you are pursuing, this is something which is on a high market stock right now. We need we need these skills, and the deficit across these skills is huge, humongous. And as we progress, as we go on, these skills helps us in understanding the concept. So now, if tomorrow when we apply to onto any of the opportunities, we apply a lot of other opportunities. The interview process is very I would say different. I'll just quickly wipe this out. I'll just wipe this out. Yeah. Okay. So here, that's this is what we call digital footprint. So now tomorrow, let's say if you apply for any opportunity with any organization, the way we hire, the way people are hired, are primarily dependent on how footprints are we maintain our digital footprint. Because let's say I have your email address, or let's say you walk into a mall and somebody asks you for your email address, put in your phone number, excuse me, or your address, and they'll give you something for free. They'll give you some gifts and all. So that's usually very common. You find that out, and um, the the way the the way we put in our information in those forms, and because, just because something is, we are getting something for free, is a social engineering, what do we call social engineering. And some of us may be aware of what social engineering is. For those who do not know what social engineering is, social engineering is manipulation of human aspects like greed, trust, fear, empathy, all of these factors. If if let's say I get a um, if I get something as a email, which we are which usually are the phishing emails that we get. Somebody telling us we you'll get a lot of dollars or pounds for free into your account. So just when we uh, I mean, simply click on a particular link and you'll get a lot of credits and so on. So phishing is something manipulating some of the concepts of human aspects, and with that, the source of any attack, let's say ransomware, let's say any malware into your system, that's the source primarily are emails and human ignorance. So I'll come up to some of the examples later on, but before we start, let me quickly uh, give you an interesting video clip. There may be some lag. I'll share that with the. I hope the video was interesting. So the crux around this video was to emphasize on the fact whatever you share over social media, that's that's something very important. And from the basics, I'll just pay attention onto this the few next few steps, few important points, which is if I have your email address and your phone number, the entire digital life can easily be hacked. How? Your email address, there is a website known as Have I Been Pawned? Have I Been Pawned? So you can go onto your onto that particular website, put in your email address there, put in your email address that you use. It will give you if your email has been compromised in some or the other attacks or not. And the best way to mitigate that or to prevent your information out of it is change your password and ensure you have a dual factor authentication, which is an OTP, and further layers of authentications are there, because you can do that right now. So there is a website, Have I Been Pawned? I'll put it in the chat. This is designed by the security researcher. What he has done is he has collected all the compromises from the dark web, gathered it into a server, and then associated with index of your email addresses. So when you put in your email address, it checks the inventory if the dark web is having the details of yours. If it is having, then you'll it gets correlated. It will give you all the list of breaches where your email address has been compromised. Even my email address was once compromised because I checked into JW Marriott some time back, and they asked for the email address, phone number, and other stuff. And later on, when JW Marriott hack happened and their entire servers were compromised, that information was also lost along with that. So with that, how I prevented was I made sure my password is resetted. I'm having a dual factor authentication. So that's one. Another question to all of you, you can ask, and even it would be interesting if you want to answer it over the chat. So let me ask, from your basics, again, as I started with the point, to question, unlearn, and then relearn, let me ask, what do you think would be more secure? A complex password would be more secure, or a lengthy password, which is of length? Would that be secure, or a complex password would be secure? So I'll take a pause. If somebody wants to write it, nice. Webov, nice. Okay, thank you, thank you. So most, I can see a huge change talking about Pratik, Vaibhav, they mentioned lengthy. So it's, I'll try to explain that. So, and eventually you'll get the answer. Those who are mentioning a complex password is more secure, eventually you'll find, while I'm talking, you'll find the answer. It will click your mind. Let me ask, computer understands in which language. The basics, the foundation language is binary, zeros and one, right? Now, whatever number, whatever character, whatever password you choose, at the end it's binary. So the moment, so when your password eventually would be binary, it makes no sense if it is complex password or it is a non-complex password. But it's human behavior, human mindset that since a complex password is difficult for us to understand, we make that password complex and think that it would be difficult to break. And at times, sometimes we even forget that ourselves because it's so much complex, and we forget the password that we have kept for specific email or particular portal. Now, how a password can be cracked? Next question is how a password can be cracked. There is a small coder that's known as ASCII coder, and those who are into gaming, we use GPUs, we use graphic processing units for various gaming PCs, workstations, laptops, and all. So GPUs are used to process information faster. Now, GPUs, along with an ASCII coder, they'll process a combination, just like in olden days people used to unlock a lock with multiple combinations. That's the same way the processing happens. The first permutation happens, and then the second, the third, the fourth, and fifth. The number of bits bases on the particular complexity, they try to decode the password. Now let's say if it is a password, a simple password but a lengthy password. Let's say I use a password. Let's say I go to, I go to office every day at 8 a.m. So I'll remember that very easily because it's a simple phrase. I go to office every day at 8 a.m. But the time it will take to decode or crack this password would be in years and months, because whatever GPU I'll put in, since the length is huge, the number of bits increases. Eventually, it will take a lot of time to decode or I would say crack that particular password. So what we learned from this is a lengthy password better be a lengthy complex password, but complex password in itself are not secure. A lengthy password, which is known as passphrase, use passphrases, and it's very easy. You can just put in a sentence and that would be it. So next time when you change your password, change them into passphrases, and the way to crack them would be difficult. Also, over dark web, let's say if there is a term known as, there is a device or not a device, but there is a inventory and information known as rainbow table. So over the dark web, or let me just step back. So when you put in your password in a website on any portal, next thing that we need to understand is when you put in your password in, let's say, any portal, it goes in two ways. It gets submitted in two ways. Either it gets saved as plain text. If my password is, let's say, ABC123, if the website is HTTP, right? If the website is HTTP, the password or whatever you put in the form, or if there is a table, anything that you'll put in, it will be saved. It will be passing through the internet in plain text format. That is, whatever you write, it is English and it is being transmitted. So even a rookie hacker can hack and capture your information. The difference between websites HTTP and HTTPS is the only thing is the only difference between HTTP and HTTPS is when you put in anything in that particular form or portal or username, password, whatever, it get encrypted. It get encrypted into a different term, which is known as hex codes or hash or whatever. Now they get converted when you put in your password. It gets, let's say, it gets converted into hash and then gets transmitted over the internet. Now somebody who is a hacker, that would need a decode. He would need to decode that hash and then capture that password, right? So at the end, even if it is an HTTPS, it doesn't mean your website is secure. It just means that it will need more effort for a or more intelligent hacker to uh, capture your information that you're feeding in a particular website. So as we talk about HTTP and HTTPS, when you put in your password, it gets converted into hash or whatever information that you feed in the forms or whatever it's there. If it is an HTTPS website, it will get converted into a different code. It gets encrypted and gets transmitted over the internet. Now, what if now a very important before let's say before plunging into it, let me ask you another question. What if somebody hacks your Wi-Fi? If somebody hacks your Wi-Fi, whatever you're sending from your laptop or whatever you're sending from your mobile device, it can be viewed. Whatever you're doing onto your portal's website, whatever you're surfing, everything goes from your device to a man in the middle. This is known as man in the middle attack. So if somebody hacks your Wi-Fi, that's home Wi-Fi. These things are quite easy. Now, why, if we say um, if we say Wi-Fi, there are a few ways with which we can enhance the Wi-Fi or make our Wi-Fi more secure, and I'll talk through those. We have a specific, I mean, we can disable broadcast for our home Wi-Fi. Um, Instead of broadcasting it, we can every device has a MAC address and the IP address. So like your iPhones and all your phones, they have the IMEI number. I'll talk through that particular concept as well. It's very interesting, but after the Wi-Fi. So let's say you have your any device, let's say laptop or a mobile. It has a MAC address. That MAC address can be mapped with your Wi-Fi, and you can turn off the Wi-Fi broadcast so that the man in the middle or the hackers do not intercept that. It would only be accessed by the devices that are already associated and configured. So let me quickly move on to another interesting video. You'll definitely like that. I'll just, and for the benefit of others, those who wanna, I'll put a whiteboard at the later point. If you wanna play, if you wanna make some drawings, definitely we can have some time separate for those drawings. But for the benefit of others, let's not scribble onto the videos, because eventually you'll not be able to see what's in there. The others would not be able to see. Here I share. Thank you for being patient and watching this video. It must have been a very interesting one, because it actually triggers a lot of questions around. So first question, the guy, this video was about a setup at Changi Airport at Singapore, where a person Wi-Fi was, they connected to a Wi-Fi and it was compromised, and whatever the person was doing on their phone, the websites, whatever camera or even the microphone of the phone was triggered, turned on remotely. So what we learned out of this video is a very important point, but we get ignorant at times. Over the mobile, the permissions that we allow, and right now we are completely digital. We do all banking transactions, we do a lot of stuff, and we think that it's all enclosed in the perimeter of security, because let's say it's Google Pay. If it is Paytm, they have their own security, they are good applications, they have a strong secure platforms. How would that be compromised? It has a password, it has a PIN code and all of that, it has a biometric, all of that is there. But what if your system gets compromised, which means your mobile device gets compromised? It has a screen recording. Most of the iPhones now have those screen recording options. It can get triggered automatically. Your microphone can get triggered automatically. People can listen, and that's where many a times Alexa, Google Home, and all of that there have been concerns around those as well. Um, Second is, if we talk about bug bounty, if you have not heard about what is bug bounty, it's a very interesting concept. Let's say if I'm a application developer, or if I'm an industry, I'm a company. Let's say I'm a Ola. I'm running Ola, a similar organization, and I create an app. And now, being the CEO, the entrepreneur, the founder of the Ola, I create an app so that people can use the cab function, the cab feature, similar to Uber. Now, I have two options. One is I can either deploy a huge team to test that application from all aspects, security, technology, feasibility, and all of that experience, user experience, or I put it as an open beta version. Right now, let's say iPhone, iOS 14, it's a beta version. Why it's a beta? Beta is something when it is not a confirmed, a final version, it's a testing version given out to public. And it's a very interesting way your public, the people test a particular application, report those bugs, and get some monetary benefit as bug bounty. They get from few dollars to millions of dollars, depending on the kind of vulnerability they find. They get those rewards. And on the other hand, it's a win-win, because as an organization, I'm getting millions of testers globally for a particular application. And what I'm paying is a simple bug bounty to a particular person who finds that vulnerability. I can either source those people, employ those people, and still not be able to test that application to a particular threshold. And it's a very interesting way. We can, a lot of people, a lot of testers, researchers get a lot of money out of it. Many of my team members have, there was an Airtel and a lot of other bug bounties, which many of my team members have also got, because they found some vulnerabilities in the network and setups and configurations and all. So this is, let's say, Wi-Fi. So what we can do to prevent that, any application that you do not need, remove that. Second is, when you give access to microphone, camera, your photographs, if you understand the gravity of giving access to your pictures to any application, what we think, let's say it's Instagram would need access to my pictures, right? Because it's a photographing, it's related to photography. It has pictures associated with it. So by default, it will have access to photographs, my photo gallery. Let's say there is a bug, there is a vulnerability in the particular application, and it's not Instagram. Somebody as a hacker comes through Instagram and extract all your pictures, or replaces your pictures. So these are the ways, not only pictures, your microphone, camera, whatever. So whatever access you give, it's a read and write access. It's not only read. So when you give the access, it's a read and write access. So that means your stuff can be read and something can be written as well. Yeah. So be careful about that. And when you're accessing emails, a very important point is when you're accessing emails, there are, as I was mentioning, social engineering. So there may be things like something too good to be true. Just be cautious, be attentive around your surroundings, because when you receive your email, check many a times when you're just check your phones right now and look at any of your emails, or even go to the spam folder. You'll find emails from legitimate senders, but and one of the drawback of our mobile phones is they do not show you the email address. They only show you the name of the sender. So what I can do is I can impersonate as somebody else. I can mask, I can create an email ID with first name and last name as, let's say, let's take Vishal, Vishal Singh. He's one of the, I can see his chat out here. So just a random example. Let's say Vishal Singh has a specific email ID, and people are well aware that Vishal sends email to Pulkit. So what I can do is I can create an email ID, something else very similar to what Vishal has, and mask it with the first name and last name Vishal Singh and sends an email to Pulkit over a mobile. Now, when Pulkit reads that email, he would not be able to visualize the email address over the mobile. He would only see the name, and he might react to that email. There may be links, there may be some actions, and a lot of organizations have seriously impacted because of this. Things like CEO frauds. There are a lot of CEO frauds that have happened this way. Yes, I'll definitely talk about phishing as well, and that's what I'm actually coming upon. So CEO frauds are, let's say, a CEO sends out an email to somebody asking to wire transfer some huge amount to a particular account on priority basis. Just because there is an urgency attached to it, there's a social engineering concept here. So urgency is there, and it's coming from a CEO. Finance team may simply action onto that particular action, and there has been a recent example of uh, an organization which was an Italian or French organization having a center in Mumbai. I read about it, where they got an email and they transferred a lot of amount to a particular account just because thinking that it's coming from a board of director. Let me share a screen and just try reading that. If you are able to read, good. Are we able to read it? Let's say, and let me read that out for you. So this amazing capability of our brains makes us more deceptible because human brain can read correctly even if the words are misspelled. Ted Sharp. And if you see, most of the words are misspelled, but we are able to see that, we are able to read that. So those who study, so this was an example, this is a capability of our brain, right? Because you have learned a language, if um, if you research into neural networks, how things are stored in our brain, so it's actually stored in terms of impressions. It's not language, it's not something as some complete message stored in those address locations in our brains. It's more of impressions, pictures. These are the way, and similarly on the particular format, AI is being designed and trained in that particular fashion. So at some point in time I can talk about that as well in some other session. But uh, this is a capability of human brains, because if you know a language, and it's already, I mean, your brain already know that particular language, and when you are reading a particular word, if the first and the last character is placed at the right place, and you jumble the text in between, or the characters in between, your brain will interpret that, because it doesn't know what's written out there, but it will quickly reshuffle, try to read that word and decode that. So that's the capability of our brain. But this capability, it is exploited by hackers. How it is exploited, I'll show that as well to you. Now, if you go into a website that says PayPal, and this is quite a example where let's say an email or a website, let's say an email or a website have an I in it, and if I put a pipe or if I put L in it, so it would still look as I, appear as I. Similar example of a particular website, these websites can easily be uh, um, what do we call that, uh, confused I mean, these can be easily be these can easily exploit our capability of reading a particular word, interpreting and decoding that particular word. So when you go onto specific website where you're putting in any specific credentials or information, just make sure that you read the website, the name of that URL very clearly, very importantly. And over the WhatsApp, if you see, there are a lot of WhatsApp forwards that you get. And especially now, Diwali, you'll get a lot of forwards, Flipkart, Amazon, and you'll find those, it would not be Amazon.in. It would be Amazon-giveaway.com. And it's not Amazon. It says Amazon-giveaway.com. It's a complete different domain, which is registered. So it's not Amazon. So you need to understand when you are clicking on such links, these would route either take you to a particular link which will deploy malware into your system, which will either trace your keystrokes, or it will it will capture the information that you put in. It will take you to a page which will look as a login page for Amazon. It's very easy. We have done that in house. So any simple person can do that. They can create some dummy pages, and you can be routed into as if you're actually getting into Amazon or a specific website which is credible. Um, now coming to phishing. Now coming to phishing. Phishing is, as I talked about, it would phishing will try to capture your information from fake links, and those phishing, a few key aspects to be away from phishing is: one, validate the sender's URL. Just make sure the sender's URL is thoroughly checked. There may be links. Hover your mouse onto the particular link and see if that link is actually showing. Don't click that. Just hover your mouse. It will give you the link. It will show you the link. If that link is actually legitimate. So when you are clicking any link and putting in any information, let's say banking or whatever, just make sure these are the few steps. You check the email address or hover your mouse onto those images or links. Most of the time, legitimate organizations would not send links into the body of the email. They'll not highlight that as blue and other links, accessible links. So just pay attention onto that, and I'll show you an example. Here is the example. An email coming from PayPal. If you see at the top, here, I'll show you. Yeah, here. Now, when you see here, this is the email address from service, this, but the actual email address is something different, right? And it's coming as PayPal, and when you hover your mouse and stuff out there, you'll get to see that these links are not legitimate. Talking about ransomware, I'll talk through ransomware now. Yes, Mohit, you are right. That can be done. So ransomware. Let's say you went out of your house. You went out shopping. You locked your house, and it's a simple. It's not a digital lock or something like of that sort. It's a simple padlock. So you locked it and then placed a strong Harisan Tala, which has its unique key, and you went out. So, and when you return, you find someone locked your house with another lock onto it. Your lock is already there, but somebody else has placed his lock, and because of that, you would not, even if you open your lock, the door still would be, it would still be locked. And now the person will ask some ransom, some amount of money, so that to give you that particular key to enter your house, until you are completely locked out. That's in a story, or as a storytelling, I can explain what ransomware is. And I worked for 7 years at NHS, and NHS, that's National Health Services UK, and the public sector, the healthcare sector. So all the healthcare and everything, it's similar to Ministry of Health, associated with Department of Health UK. So it has a centralized healthcare. All the servers, all the compute, everything is centralized. And if you go onto a particular GP, a practitioner, or a hospital, or a particular dispensary, everything is centralized. Your information is at a central server, and you only need small devices and some information. It gets replicated with those servers. What happened as a WannaCry? WannaCry is a ransomware. Sometime back, there was a WannaCry outbreak, and if you want to read about it, WannaCry, NHS, or you want to read about NotPayTR, these were the few ransomware attacks that happened that completely shook the economy of the country, and it completely shook the healthcare of the country. There were no operations. There was no healthcare for a length of period because entire NHS computer systems were locked. Even those who had scheduled appointments for operations, for treatments, that couldn't be retrieved because those computers were locked. So what happened? WannaCry came in, the entire systems got locked. Nobody, no doctors, no healthcare department, nobody was able to access healthcare information from their computers. And they were asking huge amount of millions and billions of money. Now, this is actually not a cyber attack. It is known as a cyber warfare. Cyber warfare is much more severe. And it has been well known now that there wouldn't be any wars in future which would be with guns or tanks or air attacks and all. It would be cyber warfare, because let's say if somebody hacks a satellite, if somebody hacks the satellite, I mean, if we understand how airways work, how air traffic system works, so nobody walks out of the window into the clouds and drive the aeroplane. No, they do not do that way. There is a beacon system, there is a satellite system that gives a complete trajectory, a path for a flight to go from one place to another. What altitude, what length, which area, I mean, how it should traverse the entire air, at what particular location. Otherwise, two airplanes can collide because they don't know where they are, which level, which altitude they are traveling at. So let's say satellites are hacked, so air trafficking gets compromised, and the moment air trafficking gets compromised, airways can collide. Airways, I mean, it can even get lost in the air. Similarly, into the oceans, navy ships, they connect with the satellite as well. They find their path through that. And this is, if these systems, the satellites, this pathway gets hacked, ships can completely go lost, and it would be, I mean, they can go lost in the ocean. They would not be able to find their path. And that's a very serious concern around it. And there are so many, I mean, there are ways to prevent and work upon those areas. And to talk through ransomware again, let's say, I mean, so it's in a simple way. And why, the reason behind NHS being hacked with ransomware or infected by ransomware was it did not update its operating system. The Windows operating system, the Microsoft had rolled out a security patch. Most of the computers were not updated. So another learning from this session is, whenever there is a security patch update of your mobile or so your Windows operating system or Mac, Linux, whatever, make sure you update that in a timely manner, because those are for the prevention. It's similar to the vaccination. There may be some influenza outside, there may be something in the environment, and there are vaccinations that we need to go through to prevent ourselves from that particular seasonal flu. And similar on the same lines, to prevent our systems, digital systems, from those seasonal viruses which are floated in the internet environment. That can only happen if we update our patches in a periodic and precise manner. And um, what else? So ransomware is something which encrypts your system, and then once it is encrypted, it's a simple. They exploit the vulnerability. They exploit the vulnerability, get into your system, run a script, encrypt your system, and that's gone. So to decrypt your system, they'll ask for money, and that's simple. In a simple term, it's what is called as ransomware. And let me go through some other stuff. Let me show you something else. Let's talk about dark web. Dark web. Some of us may be aware, but for the benefit of others, there is whatever internet you access. I would request, yeah, please, thank you. Whatever internet you access right now, that's known as surface web. And this surface web is almost, although it has different proportions, but it is actually reducing. It's nearly between 5 to 8% of the overall internet. Remaining internet is either deep web or dark web. So whatever is legal, people access the stuff. Your Google, Facebook, all of that is part of the surface web. Hacks, anonymity, journalism, um, human trafficking, drugs, illegal arms, all, I mean, you name it. You could imagine the worst of humanity that's happened within the deep and dark web. And it's not advisable to go onto this dark web, but for the benefit and understanding. There are security researchers. I would recommend, if anybody gets interested to go onto dark web, there is actually a certification that you should pursue and understand it better first. This is known as certified ethical hacker. So ethical hackers understand how to go into a dark web, what precautions to take, what to and what not to, do's and don't of dark web. They understand that, and they are also able to understand the benefits as well as the repercussions, the illegal, whatever illegal can happen over dark web. So these are the ethical. So this is just like um, for and against. It's similar in the similar fashion. We have antivirus and virus, and on the similar fashion we have ethical hackers as well as hackers. So there are hackers who are doing some stuff for their own personal benefit, impacting people, impacting departments, communities, and all. But there are people who are defending that with that same level of knowledge, expertise. So that dark web is something I would unfortunately have to unshare if this continues. Yeah, there are few things that I wanted to share for the. I did mention you can. I'll put in a page and you can scribble, create a lot of drawings and all. But just let other see as well. This is to go onto a dark web. The extension are not .com. To go onto dark web, the extension are onion, ONINON. So here it's, let's say, an example. This is a web page over a dark web. Hundreds of confidential files and 1,200 email logins of Nigerian Navy leaked. All of those leaks are there. A lot of leaks are out there. So researchers can get information from dark web. That's the benefit. This is something as an example, something which people illegal. People get the ID card, driving license for a mere, merely 500 euros of any country. And as you can see, the URL, these gets changed over frequent basis. These are anonymous web pages over dark web with the extension of Onion. Another example, um, genuine credit card being sold for $90, 10 credit card numbers from 1,000 to 5,000 USD of credit in there. Those credit card numbers, I mean, how these are being sold, just understand the fact. This information is your information which is being sold. Tomorrow, let's say some amount gets debited from your credit card. The chain, the food chain, the ecosystem is there was a phishing email, you clicked on it, and after clicking onto it, it went through some malware, captured the information of your credit card, and then it is over the dark web, it got sold, and then your entire system gets compromised. You get uh, impacted with financial or such impacts. And so these are some of the examples which are of the websites of dark web, and something very important for all of us to understand. And there are few things that you can do while you're accessing. I mean, there is a website, or in fact, an app. I'll put in over the chat. 1111 4 times 1. It's over Google Play Store and iOS and App Store and all. This is a for provided by Cloudflare. It's a DNS service provider. You can use this for VPN, and while you're using it as a VPN, it will help you. I mean, why VPN? Why VPN is important? VPN is virtual private network. VPN over the phone, VPN over your computers, your laptops is important because let's say somebody's tracking your Wi-Fi, somebody is tracking your packets which are sent, somebody even through your internet service provider is tracking, it's monitoring your packets which are being sent out. With the help of VPN, VPN is, let's say I want to pass, I have a ball, I pass it on to somebody else directly or via somebody, a third person. So if that is the way it goes through one person and it goes to the third person, and in that way it moves to multiple hands and then it gets transferred. So I've already shared that for the benefit of everyone. Okay, sorry, that's for 1111. So that's the website I've updated out here. Sorry, the application. There is another website which is Proton Mail. So Proton Mail is another secure email provider, unlike Gmail, where your emails can be password coded, they can have a time entry for expiration and all. Thirdly, there is an app known as Signal. Lot of people, researchers are onto Signal. Instead of WhatsApp, there is a Signal app. It is an end-to-end, completely encrypted platform. So that's all about it. A lot of things to talk about. I'll quickly, we are already at 3:08. I'll quickly take a pause if there are any questions.
Yes, sir. We received many questions through WhatsApp, through forms, and there are many questions in the chat box also. I would like to ask one question from which we received from the forms. It says, especially what exactly happens in a DLT or a distributed ledgers technology for cryptocurrency, and how is it maintained? Sir, if you could please answer that.
So this question is more around blockchain. So blockchain is okay. It may be interesting around Bitcoin. So people get quite influenced with Bitcoins. Again, when I talked about the password coding, it's actually in the same concept. You have a GPU, let's say a Titan V Titan 5 GPU is there, and it's a high processing GPU. It will process a particular code. So how bitcoins are generated? So there are blocks, and when a particular block is created, is generated, bitcoins are generated. So sometime back, when one block was generated, there was like 25 bitcoins that were generated and passed on and all. So actually bitcoins are the product of the technology which is known as blockchain. Blocks are actually, in terms of mining, what we call crypto. So mining cryptocurrency, it's not only mining the currency. Let's say distributed ledgers. I have many of the countries are transforming, even Dubai and all, they are transforming into blockchain, their financial systems, their legal systems into blockchain, so that whatever is once fed in the system cannot be reversed. It will have the entry of the previous fed information for the authenticity. And since it is distributed, so earlier in the olden days, there was a centralization of stuff being at a central location. Now things are distributed. The more things get distributed, anonymity and authenticity gets impacted. I mean, it generates anonymity. It increases the authenticity because it's scattered across a distributed environment. And those blocks are, let's say I have a setup. Let's say I have a setup of generating blocks or generating blockchains. My setup will generate would be part of some of the codes, and some other setup would be generating the rest of the code. It's actually cumulative. So it's, let's say, one particular entry will not be staying at a particular location. It would be scattered across multiple different distributed locations, which will ensure stronger authenticity of the information, and it would impact. I mean, it would completely remove the. I mean, the alteration of those records. It would completely bypass those. Those old records would not be able to alter it unless until you cancel and rework on those. So it's more of a blockchain kind of a question where things get distributed, and it's more in terms of legal, financial, wherever there is an authenticity of data is required, blockchain gets a use case.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Then I'll be happy to answer questions. You can consolidate those questions and send it to me. I'll be happy to respond back with answers. And we can take a couple of more questions and otherwise wrap up the session. Back to you, Pulkit. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, I request all the participants who want to ask questions, they can put it in the chat box.
No, the free VPNs are not safe because anything that is free, then you are the product. So somewhere or the other, you are sharing some information. So a very important aspect, if you're getting stuff for free, there would be something associated with it. May be monetary, it may be something else. So it's not only necessary free is related to currency. All right, so I guess we are good. And
last question, I'm so sorry.
Sure.
Yes, this was a question from the Google form we had circulated. The question says, what can be the socio-economic side of cybersecurity, and what are the solutions of these cyber attacks? If you could just give us a roadmap for the start to end good job of security or in this field. That's what they were wanting to do.
Sure. So the socio-economic, in fact, we can see that. I mean, you can read about Cambridge Analytica. if you have read about it. US elections have been hugely strongly impacted by Facebook, and that's all on in news, and it's not something that is confidential or there. It's that has happened. Cambridge Analytica information was with Cambridge, and then they passed on. They utilize with that. Let's say from our end, when we are allowing Facebook and such applications to know more about us as much as possible, my interest areas, I like music, I like this kind of music, this is my hobbies, and these are the places I go, these are the coffees, these are the chocolates. And these applications also have those facial recognitions as well. So when I tag a particular friend, next time it will automatically learn from that AI, and it will ask me that is he the right person, just tag him. So at the end, this is the data, a huge data repository being designed and developed over the Google. Many of us may not be aware, there is a simple way to search your picture over Google. Images.google.com, that's the place you can upload your image, search it across the internet, wherever resemblance to your picture is there, Google will give you those results. And with that help, I was able to find a identity theft of mine. Sometime back last year, I searched my picture, and it gave me my picture was there onto a real estate website of some of the US real estate website, and then I lodged a complaint with the governing authority of the US, and that was brought down. So these things, I mean, you never know how things, and even in China, let's say, China has your IDs, and even in Russia, China does not have those ID cards. It's all facial. When you're walking on street, your face are recognized, and people can identify where you are, where you're going, and what you're doing. And they also give you some credit score. If you litter onto street, or if you cross the road, even if you walk onto, let's say, which is the area which is not meant for pedestrians, so that will give you a negative score. If you are, so the government is very strongly monitoring the community, their people. With that, they're giving them score, and those who are actually complying, they get lesser taxes, benefits in groceries and all. Those who are not complying to rules, they are paying higher taxes, and they are paying higher taxes. Groceries are expensive for them. So that way, it's facial recognition integrated with the policies of the country, and things like that. I mean, those who have read about the asylum that happened, the guy who went into Russia, and he was the CIA agent, and he was he actually flew away because he was a whistleblower. He called out that US government is monitoring people's activity, their accounts, their phone calls, everything is being monitored. So socially, there are so many aspects. Even let's say Aadhaar, there is it's not advisable to share your Aadhaar number. There is a virtual ID. There is a reason why VID is there. Share your virtual ID, which is equally legitimate, because your Aadhaar is associated with OTP, and your OTP, there is a very simple way your OTP can be hacked. Whatever OTP you are getting, I can get your OTP onto my mobile device, and with that, your transaction can happen over my environment, and things like that. A lot of deep dive, and China, US, and let's say Facebook. So they are gathering their data. They are doing a lot of analytics around it. Analytics is for the sales, for the benefit of some. There may be some vested benefit around it, and it can be utilized. It can be utilized for positive. It can be utilized for negative as well. So Facebook, let's say if you have all the Facebook data is there centrally, and that gets leaked out, that can be very strongly utilized for elections. That can be strongly utilized to create a wave, trend stuff. Twitter trends stuff very easily. So those things, that trends are creating those social and economic impacts. Let's say Elon Musk tweeted. Let's say Elon Musk at times he's a very active over Twitter. So when he tweets that my Tesla stocks are too high, or I'm planning to go private, the stock goes down. So it's an economic impact of our social behavior. So a lot of things are integrated. So whatever we do socially, digitally, that needs to be very cautious about.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering our questions. It was a lovely pleasure to have you with us. Now I'll hand over the stage to Raymond.
Okay, so on behalf of the BSc Program Society of St. Stephen's College, I would like to express my gratitude to Mr. Aki Jackson, Senior Director, Head IT and Security at Incedo Incorporations, for finding time from his busy schedule to grace our event with his presence. This event was indeed an eye-opener for all of us. It provided us an in-depth knowledge of the threats one is vulnerable to in the world of technology and how one can prevent themselves from falling prey to the trap. The session made all of us aware of its cons, especially in these uncertain times when all that we have is this technology as a fuel to our lives. I would also express my heartfelt gratitude to our principal, Professor John Verghese, for giving us this opportunity to organize such an enlightening lecture. I would like to thank our staff advisors for their overwhelming support and guidance. We now conclude the lecture. Do follow us and check out our social media handles. We are very active at our social media handles. We request you all to stay tuned for getting updates regarding our future events. Best wishes, everyone. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
sir.
I would also request all the participants to kindly fill the form in order to get the e-certificates, because we'll be tapping in the attendance and sending the e-certificates out to only those who have filled the form. I request that please fill in your for the email as well as your name very properly and carefully. Thank you. The link for the form has been put over the chat box. Please do take a note of it.
Thank you so much, sir. We actually learned a lot from this session, and we would love to have you again, sir. There was a lot of questions, and we could not take them up because of the shortage of time.
Time
So we
constraint.
definitely want to have you again, sir.
Definitely, I'll be happy to answer offline and conduct future sessions as well. Thank you for inviting me today. You have been a lovely audience. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time from a busy schedule and joining us. We had a pleasure to host you.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.
Take care.
Guys, social media links, please somebody just put it over the chat.
Also, a heartfelt gratitude to all participants who joined us today. We hope it was an informative session for all of you. Kindly follow our social media handles, which have been put up on the chat boxes repeatedly. Also, we're circulating all the form links again. Please take note to fill it. We will not be able to send you a certificate if the form is not filled. I repeat, please fill the forms. We will not be able to send you a certificate if the form is not filled.